Oh dear, Cologne. Hey everybody, and welcome to Club 2020 Daily, your morning update on the UEFA Champions and Europa League. Well, Sunday night in Germany, Man United couldn't finish, and now they are. Today, we're going to be looking forward to tonight's second Europa League semi-final, and also back on Man United. They came into this cup full of beans, but they leave with a bitter taste.
Manchester United tonight writing the latest chapter in a story that goes back over 60 years. The quest to lift European silverware. Martial turns it round and Rashford's got a big chance. Doesn't take it. Penalty. His referee's given a penalty. Bruno Fernandes has scored his last 18 penalties. It's a brilliant penalty. Absolutely sensational penalty. And Suso equalises, the former Liverpool man.
No United players complain it was there, throw him.
Again the goalkeeper, who's proving a superhero here.
Oh, is he going to be one of those nights for Manchester United?
De Jong is there, and Sevilla have the lead. United switched off. Manchester United's European dream drowned beside the Rhine.
Well, the twin faces of football, their triumph and despair. But Sevilla beat Manchester United 2-1. Sevilla going through to their sixth final in this competition. They've won their previous five. Tonight we'll see who will face them there. Will it be Inter Milan or Shakhtar? Their game will be live from Dusseldorf. Our coverage starting from 7:30 on BT Sport 1 and Ultimate. Tomorrow, then, it's the Champions League semi-finals. Tuesday, RB Leipzig take on PSG. That's from 7 o'clock on BT Sport 1 and Ultimate. And same channels for Wednesday's clash. Lyon against Bayern Munich. Could Lyon do it? Wow. That's not all. We've also got live coverage coming up of the last 8 of the Women's Champions League. That gets underway on Friday night with an absolutely, Friday afternoon rather, with an absolutely huge game between Atletico Madrid and Barcelona. That's from 4:30 on BT Sports 3. Saturday then, a double-header for you. Arsenal up against PSG. That's from 6:30 on BT Sport 1. And slightly later, Lyon, the holders, taking on Bayern Munich from 7 on BT Sport 2. It's a big week in Europe, essentially. We've certainly got loads to talk about today with our guests, who are the journalist and Italian and European football expert, James Horncastle. Hello to you, James.
Good day to you, James.
Good day. Happy New Week, etc.
Thank you.
Also joining us on our television here, there we go, author and journalist, nominative determinism's Daniel Storey. Daniel.
Hi, James.
All right, lovely. OK, well, we've got a lot to discuss. Of course, we're going to begin with last night's exit for Man United at the hands of Seville. Very briefly, Daniel, thoughts on the game?
I mean, I think Manchester United were unfortunate in that they had that spell in the first 10 minutes of the second half where they absolutely dominated the game and probably should have scored 2 or 3 goals and would have put it to bed at that point. But having soaked up that pressure, Sevilla kind of saw a chink in Manchester United's armour, which is that although they have a very settled first team, there was nothing on the bench. And Ole Gunnar Solskjaer proved that he just doesn't trust them, his squad players. And they looked very tired and defended pretty poorly. And so, yeah, Sevilla march on.
All right. Lack of substitutes, also the defending, which we'll look back on the action in a second or two. But that was another big factor yesterday.
Yeah, poor, particularly in the wide areas. You look at the 2 assists for Sevilla's goals. They come from their fullbacks, which are allowed to push on. And just how they went unchecked, basically when they were pushing up, and then also the crosses into the box, really poorly defended. I think in some respects United only have themselves to blame for going out last night in not taking chances, and also just the poor defending as well.
All right, well, we'll look back on the highlights in a second or two. Quick check on what the papers are saying this morning. Daily Mirror with its Mexit. There you go, squabbling United out of Europe to complete a dreadful weekend for the 2 Manchester Giants. Daily Telegraph have red mist. United players turn on each other after another semi-final defeat. And the Eye, Daniel's paper, getting on board with this whole Bono pun craze that was going on yesterday. Bono gives United strikers vertigo before knockout blow. Oh, not you too, Eye. Well, it was a disappointing night for Man United. It was actually a terrific night for Sevilla, who go through to their 6th final. As I mentioned before, they've won all their previous ones. We're going to ask your opinion, though, on where you think Man United should be strengthening this summer, if indeed that's what they need to do. Always love getting your comments and your input on the show. The way to do it is tweet us with the hashtag Club2020 or via the YouTube page And let us know what you think about this question. Which area of the team do they most need to strengthen in? Centre-back, left-back, right-wing, centre-forward, or something else? Chief executive, perhaps? I don't know. You let us know. There's also one other big story which we'll be touching on a little bit later on, but it looks like Setien is going to be dismissed by Barcelona. Quique Setien, the beaten Barcelona manager the other day from that incredible Bayern 8-2 win over of Barca. And there's a lot of talk that Ronald Koeman is going to be the man taking over. Anyway, loads of stuff to discuss with all of that. But after what was a pretty dramatic night in Cologne, let's get a little bit of post-game reaction now with our man in Germany, Daryl Curry.
It's over. Manchester United's European dream drowned beside the Rhine tonight.
Look at the players still celebrating in that dressing room.
Yeah, we had a little party, but because it's of course amazing to reach the finals of the Europa League, especially for such a club as Sevilla, the record holder. And so, yeah, we were really celebrating in the dressing room, yeah.
It's one of them that you, if you take your chances, you'll win comfortably. But that's not always the case in football. And I've got to say, we had moments and spells in both halves that we could have scored quite a few. We've got a young team. Some spells today maybe showed that this group of players will have to learn and get the consistency in the play.
The boys are devastated in there. Created numerous amounts of chances. Got to win the game. The best team lost, and they've punished us for missing the chances. We've been ruthless at times this year, and today we wasn't. No, it's disappointing. We want to win silverware. Maybe that little bit of inexperience has cost us in the end, because even though that we're on top and we're creating chances, we shouldn't concede the second goal.
And Sevilla have the lead. United switched off.
We saw your anger after the second goal you conceded as well. What was said between yourself and Victor Lindelof?
Oh, I think it's normal, you know, when you take a goal in the last, we have 10 minutes after to score again. Everyone was mad, you know. It's not about me or Victor, it's about every team. What's happened between me and Victor is nothing. It's normal. In football happens. The most important now is we need to see the mistakes everyone did and look forward to improving the next games.
The Europa League, it's a big cup for Sevilla, and yeah, reaching the final of this league is for the fans and for everybody who has a Sevilla heart, it's really special.
We definitely need to improve if we want to move up the table and take steps further in the cups. I've never had 3 semi-finals in one season, and so that's one of them things that you're disappointed with as well.
What a severe disappointment for Man United, but severe joy there in the locker room post-game and jumping up and down like nobody's business, and you can understand it. They're not the biggest club in Spain. The biggest clubs have already gone out. Real Madrid at the hands of Man City, Barcelona at the hands of Bayern. They are still going and celebrating as they look to make it 6 titles in this tournament. Let's have a quick look at the Spanish press reaction this morning. There you go, Marca echoing that note of Sevilla flying the flag. They are the pride of Spain, says the Madrid-based paper. As the other paper from the Spanish capital says, a one step from a 6th title in the UEFA Cup / Europa League. Sport, meanwhile, from Barcelona, have adios Setien. Goodbye to Setien, the Barcelona manager. The little headline underneath, Koeman and Pochettino are the main candidates. You can probably translate for yourself. But it's interesting, the bit just underneath that, where they have Barcelona returning to thoughts of Neymar for next season, which it's a bit of a stretch. I'm thinking with what money would probably be your question. We'll talk about transfers later on. We've got a special little section on that later on. But right now, we're going to talk about Sevilla's win. Harry Maguire there in the quotes that we saw post-game saying the best team lost. Was that your impression, Daniel?
Yeah, I think it was. You know, Bono was fantastic. I don't think he actually made a save that he wouldn't be expected to make. I think it was as much down to poor finishing as anything else. You know, shot saved with his feet, shots not put in the corner of the goal. And Manchester United clearly created enough, but we've seen this before. We've seen the problems in the full-back areas. We've seen that if you can double up on those full-backs that...
Well, Daniel, just to say, it was a great start to both halves. I mean, the first half began with some lovely interplay, winning United a penalty, which Bruno Fernandes converts in fabulous style, and they're on their way. But then what happens?
I think what happens is that they lose concentration at the back. That's what seems to happen all season. They've spent £80 million on Harry Maguire, and he does it. They've spent £30 million on Victor Lindelof, and he does it. They spent £50 million on Aaron Wan-Bissaka, and he does it. And they had a young kid at left back. So that's been the story of the season. I think that there's possibly an issue with playing Bruno Fernandes and Pogba in these big games and only having one defensive midfielder and therefore a little bit less protection. But yeah, the defensive lack of concentration has been a problem all season.
It was a brilliant equaliser from Sevilla. We have to give them credit for that, James.
Yeah, undoubtedly. I thought, what does Maguire mean by best? Is it the team that created the most chances and had higher XG, or is it kind of experience that this side has? Even though they've changed so many teams, you look at the substitutions that they made and were able to really kind of affect the game that way, in a way that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer wasn't. I just thought the way they were resilient, hung in there, composed when they needed to be. I think that's the mark of a very good team, and in some respects is also why Sevilla were the better team on the night, in my opinion. And
the fact that they didn't stand and watch as balls sailed by to a man who'd come on who would then score the winner. That extraordinary phase in which Luke de Jong ties the result up for them. Well, Daniel, you make a point there about the number of chances that Man United had, and it was an extraordinary spell of dominance in the first 10 minutes of the second half, in which you thought surely Man United are going to take control of this game now. And it echoed what we'd seen in the previous round against Copenhagen. On both occasions, the keeper ends with a huge number of saves, but I think on both occasions people would say how many of them were really spellbinding. Maybe less so even last night than for Jonsson in the Copenhagen game. Are you suggesting that Man United don't know how to finish? This front three that everybody raves about don't know how to finish?
I'm not sure I'll go quite that far. I think it probably comes down to energy levels. I think we see energy levels as best represented in players not sprinting as much or letting a man past them and not being able to track them back. But we also need to remember that a lack of energy is demonstrated in a kind of lack of sharpness and a lack of exactness in the biggest moments of the game. So a striker takes a shot and it's just not quite in the corner, or he hits it with power because he doesn't trust himself to place it right in the corner. So I think it's that more than anything. This was Manchester United's 61st match of the season. It's been a long, long year. They're a young team that have played pretty much every week. So I think it's that more than anything.
OK. The numbers are quite remarkable there. 46 shots across these two games, Copenhagen and Sevilla. The only two goals they've scored, those two penalties. Were they to have had an out-and-out centre-forward among their ranks still, would that have been a better option for them rather than, say, Martial and Rashford, who, not surprisingly, after a double stress fracture of the back, is not quite at his previous levels?
Well, look, I mean, they have Igalo as well, who made an impact when he joined, in January. I mean, I don't know how many United fans regret moving on from Romelu Lukaku, because I think ultimately that transfer has worked out for everyone involved, but he scored 31 goals this season and offers a different option to that three that we saw last night, who are all kind of quite similar, really. They can play out wide, they can play through the middle, they can beat a man, they're quick. But maybe a little bit more diversity, a bit more variety up front would be an idea going forward in the future.
A lot of the post-game comments from Man United and from their supporters were about spending money to be able to compete at the highest levels. Daniel, you made the point about the kind of figures they've already spent on the players at the back, which just made it all the more bizarre to see the way they reacted for Luke de Jong's winner. Or didn't they?
I think that, there has to be an issue of mentality. And some Manchester United fans were making the point that, we had nothing on the bench. Well, Luke de Jong is not a flagship leading striker for a top European club. He's a kind of make-do option. And Manchester United have make-do options. And I think it partly comes down to Solskjaer purely sticking with that first team for the last 2 months, and therefore basically abandoning the principle of a squad from football's restart to now. And that feels like it's come back to haunt him.
Yesterday we were voicing the criticisms of Pep Guardiola for changing his team too much, but it's the opposite issue then with Man United?
I mean, there's an irony there in that the greatest super sub of all time in European competition doesn't want to go to the bench to change a game, particularly late. Also, I mean, that's the other thing. Over the course of that second half, it was like, when is Ole going to change something? And I think you saw Lopetegui. Yes, the changes that he made up front all seemed to come off, really, just a complete refresh to that front three. So he left it so late that even the guys he did bring on in the end, it was very kind of fine margins. Are you giving them a real opportunity to do something in this game?
All right. Well, a lot of people think that Man United need to do something over the next few weeks before the next season. We've been asking you which area of the team you think they should focus on for any transfer dealings, and you can see a big majority there for people saying centre-back, which is, Daniel, as you mentioned, very much the area which they addressed last year with 80-odd million for Harry Maguire. Remarkable stuff. How would you react to that? Just to quickly give one or two of the tweets we've had in. Marco Diaz says the spine of the team needs strengthening. We lack depth. Cavani, Sancho, a centre-back and a central midfielder would be ideal. Quite a shopping list there. Connor has Upamecano would be a world-class signing. I think everyone would love him after his performance the other day. I know he's right-footed, but he's brilliant. And Mike at Green Rascal says, centre-forward, obviously, we can't rely on penalties and VAR again next season. Of course, the main transfer that Man United have been associated with of late is the Jadon Sancho one. And yesterday, this is what he was up to in a friendly against Austria Vienna. Check this out.
Unreal. That is sensational bit of skill from Sancho. I think Jude Bellingham also scored in that game. Another player that United were linked with.
It's the defender's face. Come on. It's incredible stuff, and the kind of thing we've been seeing from him ever since he went to Borussia Dortmund. Will he be staying there, James? Very, very briefly. I know we've talked a lot about this story, but Borussia Dortmund said they'd put a lid on it. Have they?
Well, they say it's definitive. So you'll have to take that at face value, James. Ultimately, the transfer window is open until the beginning of October.
Right.
But I think a lot of teams want to ensure that their squads are already set and ready for when the league season resumes. So, even though there were reports this morning that Borussia Dortmund have posted a loss in their financial results, I would say that most football clubs this year will post a loss.
Right. The difference being with Dortmund, though, is that they don't normally do that. It's the first time in a long while that they've actually had red figures in their balance.
But there isn't always a pandemic that basically stops you getting all the match day revenue that they do from Signal Iduna Park, which is one of the biggest stadiums in European football. So I think that's really to be expected. I don't think it dramatically changes their stance when it comes to Jadon Sancho.
Okay. Very good. Well, Man United are out then of Europe, and Man United are not the only ones. Man City also going out. All the English sides are out of the European competition. The world, though, as you can see, still continuing to roll on, and so does the Europa League. In fact, this evening we'll be looking at Inter as they take on Shakhtar Donetsk. We'll have a preview of that shortly. First, here's Andrew Mensah with another classic T-shirt question.
The blue and black stripes of the Nerazzurri is one of the most recognisable shirts in football history. And they've had some of the most recognisable faces in football. I want to know what player springs to mind when you see this shirt. Tweet us at #Club2020.
Bruno, I know everybody will be distraught after that. Are you still coming to terms with what happened after such a positive start to the match?
Oh, I think more than a positive start, we do a great game. We create a lot of chances, but in football is not enough. When you create chances, you need to finish, you need to score. And today we miss a lot in front of goal. Of course, if you keep create this kind of chances, you will score in the next times. Obviously, we are not satisfied about this now because we want to go through. We want to win the game and to be in the final, but it was not possible today. Now it's time to rest, to refresh the legs and thinking in the next season.
Loads of chances, yes, but once again you were up against a goalkeeper who seemed to be inspired form, just like the quarter-final.
Yeah, you can say that. The keeper did very well, of course, but I think for the quality we have, we need to score. Of course, the keeper did very well today. It was amazing, like in the last night against Copenhagen. They did very good. Two good keepers. We can say nothing about that, of course, and we can say he saved his team more than 2 or 3 times.
The team was awarded 1 penalty tonight. Did you feel you should have had at least 1 more?
I don't know, and I don't. It doesn't matter now. You know, the referee did his job, did what he think is better for the game, did his best. So we need to look forward and improve.
We saw your anger after the second goal you conceded as well. What was said in the pitch? There was a bit of an argument, it looked like, between yourself and Victor Lindelof.
Oh, I think it's normal, you know, when you take a goal in the last, we have 10 minutes after to score again. Everyone was mad, you know. It's not about me or Victor, it's about every team. What's happened between me and Victor is nothing. It's normal. In football happens. Is looking for each other, you know. Will be much more times these things happen in the football, in other teams and everything. The most important now is we need to see the mistakes everyone did and look forward to improving the next games.
Look, if I'd have said to you at the beginning of the season, 3rd in the league and 3 strong cup runs, you would have probably taken that, wouldn't you? Based on where they were?
3 semi-finals, probably not, no. I think Ollie's done really well from where the club has been for the 3 or 4 years previously to when he came in. I think he's made a huge difference. The style of football, especially as Ollie said, from February, we've looked a different team. For 2 or 3 years, we didn't look like we could create a chance, let alone score a goal. But since Bruno came in, he's made a huge difference to this team. He made a dull team into an exciting team. Good young players coming in, Brandon Williams doing really well, Mason Greenwood, as we know. That's what United was all about. Losing 3 semi-finals, really disappointing. Look, tonight, the best team lost the game. There's no doubt about that. But you can't keep saying that. At some point, you've got to win these games. You've got to have the players who win you trophies and win you these games of football. And at the minute, they're not quite showing that. And this is a club that expects to win trophies. It's been 3 years now without a trophy. And all of we know, as well as he's done to get them to semi-finals, the next step, he has to find a way to win something.
Welcome back, everyone, to Club 2020 Daily, coming to you every morning from Stratford, East London. Good day to you, sir, as we head off into another exciting week of European competition. My word. Hey, just before the break, Andrew Mensah had one of his classic jerseys out. It was an Inter 98-99 vintage. He was asking us who it made us think of. That is such an insanely rich with talent squad that they had that year. James, if you pick one name out of there.
What, Bible study with Taribo West there at the top left-hand corner? But no, I mean, you've got to look at the South Americans. Bam Bam Zamorano.
You're allowed one name, James, not the whole
I went with Taribo West then.
All right.
Yeah.
Daniel Story. Who does that make you think of?
I'm definitely having Ronaldo then if James is leaving him aside.
Wow, I'm surprised. Surely the answer is, for that and every year, Javier Zanetti. But it was an amazing squad. Let's just see what one or two of you viewers have said. MJA says, who other than phenomenal, the real Ronaldo? Tom Potter. The Inter strikes definitely remind me of Ivan Zamorano. Bam, bam. Joshua Hoare says Recoba, another of the classic fellas there. Marek says Zanetti. I mean, there were just so many other options there, because I don't know if you look at the top row of that line, you have Robbie Baggio sat down there on the bottom, and then up at the top you've got Taribo West, as you say, you've got Recoba, Zamorano, and Christian Vieri. This was a squad so rich in talent that they had to loan out Andrea Pirlo. There you go, Ronaldo, Zamorano, Christian Vieri, just all sorts of players. And what looks like Phil Neville down there, third from left on the bottom, but I can't remember that. I think I'm mistaken. Anyway, alrighty. Now, of course, loads of familiar faces in that Inter team, but also in the current vintage of Inter as they head into tonight's clash with Shakhtar Donetsk. In fact, let's hear from a couple of the more familiar of them, the manager, Antonio Conte, and Ashley Young.
Here's Young. Lukaku trying to turn and goes down, but somehow he knocked it in anyway.
Being in England all my life, it was a totally different change, but it was an experience that I jumped at the chance, to be honest. I'd spoke to Ollie, and he had said to me that I wasn't going to play as much as I wanted to, and you know, when you're coming towards the end of your career, you want to be playing as much as you can. I'm as fit as anyone, and I feel that I've still got a lot to give.
Our season until now is a really good season because we played in every tournament that we played. I think we did a really good job, and we reached the semi-final in Italy Cup. We reached the second place in our league, and now we are in a semi-final in UEFA League. It means that the players worked very, very well, that they deserve to stay here and to play this type of game. Now we have a game against Shakhtar, a really good team, a strong team with important players and technical players, talented players. We have to pay great attention because they are very good, they are fast in counter-attack. This is a semi-final. You know, when you arrive at this level of the competition, and for sure the game, a very intensive game, a very difficult game. For every coach, the goal is to try to finish the season and to lift a trophy. And it's not simple because there are other teams that they have the same ideas.
The manager in this last few weeks has been getting involved. You know, it's good to see. It's actually nice when we keep him in the middle and keep him running about. You see that the team spirit we've got here it's unbelievable. You know, everybody's fighting for each other. Everybody wants to win, and it's obviously hard work. But it's work that you enjoy doing when things pay off.
And that will be that. Inter have done the business against Bayer Leverkusen.
Done the business against Leverkusen. They've done good business as well in the transfer market. Ashley Young's been a real treat for them, hasn't he?
Yeah, one of the less heralded signings that they made in January. Christian Eriksen stole all the headlines, but Young has done really well since he's been there. Fitted straight in. I think it's a system that he knows. And he's got a really good connection with Lukaku up front as well. So he's been one of the best British exports over a very small sample size.
Absolutely. A remarkable quote there from Antonio Conte as well, because he spoke for, I think, about 60 seconds without once slagging off his club for not buying him enough players. He's on his best behaviour now after recent events, James.
Yeah, he's had to walk back a number of comments where he's called out the club, basically on signings, on being too leaky. The president, who's, 28 years old, has flown in from China. First time he's been in Europe since the pandemic hit. So Conte on best behaviour. And you see him, again, I think those images of him involved in the rondos, I think, yeah, that's all very keenly positioned out there to show that he's very much one with the team and enjoying his time at Inter.
Because there were even reports after one of his more irate outbursts post-game that he might have put his future at the club in jeopardy. The impact that he's had in this season at Inter has been phenomenal. He's made them into real contenders both in the league and now for European glory. They've a reputation for not being a consistent side-to-side who can snatch defeat from any potential victory. But this was them against Leverkusen, and it was very dominant stuff.
Yeah, they should have won this game by 4 or 5. Ultimately, Leverkusen scored with their only opportunity, scored with their first chance. We'll see it. It's Kai Havertz, who's obviously been in the headlines a lot recently, linked with a move to Chelsea, but Inter was so dominant, and particularly Lukaku up against Edmund Tapsoba. He's really been a leader for this team, not only a goal scorer.
Right. Well, he's been a goal scorer as well a lot, and he's got this remarkable run now of 9 straight Europa League games scoring. First of these, actually, the run stretches back to Everton, but as we move through these, and they'll showcase the variety of ways in which the Belgian can hurt you. As you say, it's not just the fact that he gets on the score sheet, but he is actually a dominant personality, one of the people actually driving into and keeping their season together.
And his Italian's brilliant as well. He speaks flawless Italian now, and he's just been trying to raise standards around him. He got Man of the Match award for this performance against Leverkusen. He insisted that they give it to his teammate Nicola Barella as well. When he's got penalties, he's the designated penalty taker, but if there's a teammate who's going on a bit of a goal drought, he says, why don't you take it? Sometimes that's worked, sometimes it hasn't, depending on whether the player's missed or scored or not. But he has really taken that team and made it in his image.
And the knock against him, and I think some Man United supporters may still feel this, is that he doesn't have good enough technique. He can't trap a ball or whatever. When you look at some of the chances he's laid on, this one against Slavia Prague, for example, is one of the assists of the competition.
It's outstanding. One of the assists and goals of the competition as well. I spoke to his brother, Jordan, last week, and he says, you know what, my brother's actually a really good crosser of the ball. And you see it all here. And he has had to be a bit more of a creator up front for them, because Lautaro is the guy who goes and presses, harasses opponents, tries to regain the ball. Lukaku's the one who comes short, knits the play together, helps them get out of trouble. And you see there as well, someone who can create chances.
31 goals in all competitions so far this season. He's 3 short of the previous best by a first-time player at the club, which was all phenomenal himself. Ronaldo. Here we're looking at Ronaldo in the the last time that an Italian side won sorry, not the last time, Parma won it the following year, but the last time Inter won this competition, which was against Lazio, an all-Italian final. Oh, phenomenal. That day had an absolutely insane game.
Yeah, and this was the first final that Romelu Lukaku watched as a kid on TV.
No way.
Yeah, and you know, he grew up idolising Didier Drogba, of course, but Ronaldo was one of his influences, and Adriano at Inter was someone that he really saw his game developing into. But yeah, that was one of the most outstanding performances of the 90s in the UEFA Cup final.
But it's interesting, isn't it? Ronaldo with that incredible first season before injuries hit him, 34 goals. Lukaku only 3 behind that. Will he add to that this season? We shall see. Daniel, you've been really patiently sitting there watching us go all drooly over Lukaku and Big Ron from back in the day. Tell us a little bit about Shakhtar Donetsk and their incredible record of staying competitive at the top level, despite the fact they haven't even got a home ground.
Yeah, they last played in Donetsk in 2014. It's very close. Donetsk is very close to the Russia border, so after the outbreak of conflict, they were forced to move. They played their home games in Kharkiv, the home of Metalist Kharkiv. And they're loving being the underdogs, I think, quite frankly. They've got this pretty extraordinary group of Brazilian players. You know, in the quarter-final, they started 6 Brazil-born players and 5 Ukraine-born players. So it's very much 2 camps, but they've managed to knit it together. And yeah, they've scored a heck of a lot of goals this season. It's also worth remembering that if they'd have managed to beat Dynamo Zagreb home or away in the Champions League, they'd have qualified for the knockouts ahead of Atalanta. So yeah, they mean business, and they're loving being the underdogs, I think.
Just seeing some of the great Brazilians who've been with them. The numbers are, let me just see if I can find this, 34 Brazilian-born players since 2009. They've got 13 in their current squad. All 4 of those goals that we saw against Basel were from Brazilian-born players. And the Basel game, described by the Ukraine press, as being one of Shakhtar's best performances in recent years, Daniel.
Yeah, absolutely. They were utterly dominant. They were favourites for the game, but they were utterly dominant. And as I say, they're absolutely loving going under the radar. They're loving the focus on Conte and Lukaku and Inter. And yeah, it's a very odd setup to have these naturalised Brazilians and non-naturalised Brazilians, but it almost creates the same unity within a squad that having locally born players does. You know, we talk about famous teams of the past like the Lisbon Lions, where everyone's born locally. Actually, they've proved you can do that in a very different way and in a very, maybe a modern way, but it works for them.
Have they played a decent standard of opposition, though, yet in the competition, James?
Well, they've got Champions League experience, haven't they? You look at that group that they were in with Man City as well. I think that's something that Antonio Conte's pointed out in his press conference last night, was that this is a team that is in Europe every single year, and more often than not in the Champions League. And they've been able to keep a core group of players together who've accumulated that experience. I mean, we mentioned the Brazilians. I think they went maybe 4 years without signing someone actually from Brazil, because the likes of Marlos and Tyson came from other Ukrainian clubs. that's now changed. So it just goes to show that this team has been playing together for a long time, played more or less the same style, from Lucescu to Paulo Fonseca to Castro now. So they know what they're about, and I think that's one of the reasons why, as Daniel says, they are an underdog, a dark horse, but they're not unfamiliar to these kind of occasions.
Very briefly, Daniel, who's the favourite tonight?
I think Inter are the favourites, but I think if they don't score first, Shakhtar score first, then you can see that kind of Inter last stage in Europe panic setting in.
All right, it's coming up live this evening on BT Sport. Meantime, while the Europa League and Champions League are wrapping up their seasons with this extraordinary and unique final set of tournaments, the transfer market is, of course, underway. Let's get a quick update on the latest from that with Chris Williams.
Today's transfer news: Alexander Sørloth looks to be on the move. The Norwegian joined Crystal Palace in 2018 but failed to become an Eagles regular. Spending last season on loan at Turkish side Trabzonspor, he amassed 33 goals and 11 assists over 49 appearances. And now, Champions League semi-finalist RB Leipzig looks set to sign him, as they want to replace AS Roma loanee Patrick Schick. Manchester United's Chris Smalling is wanted by Newcastle United. Steve Bruce looks desperate to sign the defender, but 30-year-old Smalling wants to extend his stay in Italy after a successful loan spell with AS Roma. Serie A side have so far been put off by a £20 million valuation. After impressing in Italy, Juventus are also said to be monitoring the situation. Smalling has 2 years left on his contract at Old Trafford, but is desperate to join Roma, even willing to take a pay cut in order to finalise the deal. Bournemouth have accepted an £18 million offer for goalkeeper Aaron Ramsdale. The Cherry shot-stopper looks set to join Chris Wilder's Sheffield United. The club he left to join Bournemouth just 3 years ago. The Blades are without a #1 keeper after Dean Henderson returned to Manchester United after his loan deal expired. Ramsdale expressed a desire to join his old club, and after an opening offer of £12 million was rejected, he now looks a formality that he'll make his way to Bramall Lane. Liverpool are rumoured to have agreed personal terms with Bayern Munich's Thiago, although any transfer negotiations won't take place until the Bavarian's Champions League campaign is completed. The Spaniard was in sensational form as Bayern destroyed Barcelona 8-2 the other evening. Bundesliga side would look for around £30 to £35 million for the midfielder. Liverpool remain tight-lipped on any transfer, but reports in Germany, Spain and now France suggest that the two clubs are already in contact.
Many thanks to Chris Williams for that. Let's get a quick update from Daniel and James. First of all, on a story that wasn't really covered there, Leo Messi, who I know, I mean, it's nonsense, isn't it? But is it? Could it be that amid all the meltdown in Barcelona, with reports, as we heard yesterday, that he's now actually actively saying to the club, I want to make a move and not waste the last couple of years of my career, is it going to happen? Where's he going to go? Or should we just move on?
Well, if he goes anywhere, I think it'll be Italy, given that the Messis have basically been investing in prime real estate in Milan, partly because they are dual nationals and there's tax breaks over there. But I think it's very unlikely, particularly given the current environment with clubs' revenues, liquidity kind of affected by the pandemic, how expensive it would be to buy Lionel Messi. And also, Bartomeu's already got a bad enough reputation as Barcelona president. Does he really want to be known as the guy who sold Lionel Messi?
Well, he might not have a choice. He might not have a choice. However, as you say, extremely unlikely. Let's move on to one of the ones that, as Chris was mentioning, is very likely, and that's Thiago to Liverpool. All sorts of talk that not only have the clubs agreed terms, but that he's actually already chosen his house on Merseyside, which is pretty much key to this. Daniel, what will he do to Klopp's team?
Well, he's a pure passer. You look at the statistics from the game against Barcelona. I think he made one tackle. He didn't set up a chance, and yet he was probably the game's best player in terms of the transitions from defence and attack and how inventive and how penetrating his passes can be. I think Klopp loves that because at the moment Liverpool are doing that by switching play between the fullbacks. This gives them a second option. It gives them an ability to do it through the middle very quickly, and yeah, I think it makes sense.
OK, excellent. Another story that's hot at the moment is Joe Hart, who we enjoyed on BT's coverage the other night. He was in very eloquent form talking about Man City the other night. Unfortunately, that they went out at the hands of Lyon. But in the middle of a transfer story that would take him from Burnley, where he was third choice, I think, to Tottenham Hotspur. What do you think, James?
I think it's a good move for Joe. I mean, ultimately he gets to compete for that first choice goalkeeper place for that Hugo Lloris has got. But Spurs has often been quite a good place to go for a second choice goalkeeper. You look at Vorm, you look at Gazzaniga over the years. So yeah, I think it's a nice place to be for him.
Okay. All right, lovely stuff for Joe Hart. We'll see if that one goes through. Vincent Kompany, meanwhile, has now announced his retirement as a player. Daniel, I must admit, I thought maybe this had happened last year, but he was player-manager last year, and now he's hung up his boots and will concentrate on just the clipboard, whiteboard, whistle, cones, all that kind of stuff. There is a nice tweet, actually, from Romelu Lukaku, who has said, "You've paved the way for so many of us. I'll miss you, brother. Good luck." Vince the Great. He's so missed, isn't he, Daniel?
Yeah, for that leadership by example, more than anything else. And that's evidently what he's looking forward to taking on in his coaching career. It didn't work out particularly well last season, particularly when he was still trying to play. But so I think he was a player manager towards the end in name alone. And yeah, he will eye himself as at a very higher level than the one he's currently at. He will see an opportunity to get in within that City football group and use that to facilitate his coaching career, I'm sure.
We should be seeing some of these deals now actually being concluded, because already we've got the French League due to start on Friday. There's not much time for people to get their business done.
No, not at all. I mean, clubs that are going to be falling out of Europe are going to be falling straight back into pre-season. Yeah. We all know what managers are like. They want to have that squad settled. They want to know who they can count on for the coming season. But they're not going to be able to do that, James, because ultimately this transfer window is going to drag on and on and on, which is great. Right,
this show's not going to drag on. We're almost done. And indeed, while a new season hoves into view, we haven't done with this one yet. We know that Sevilla are in the final. Who will face them there, though? We'll find that out tonight in the Europa League. Champions League semi-finals are back tomorrow, with Leipzig taking on Paris Saint-Germain. And then on Wednesday, Lyon up against Bayern Munich. Absolutely extraordinary. Of course, we've got the finals coming up. We've got the Women's Champions League coming up live as well on BT Sport in an incredible week of European football. That wraps it up for today's edition of Club 2020 Daily. We're back, of course, tomorrow morning at 11. Many thanks to Daniel and James for being with us today, and you as well. We'll be here, as I say, tomorrow morning. Enjoy the game tonight, and we'll see you soon.